For decades, we've been told that weight loss is simple math. Eat less, move more. Burn more calories than you eat, and the fat will just melt away. Sounds logical, right? Yet millions of people have tried this formula, counting calories, starving themselves, sweating through endless workouts, and still the scale barely moves. You've probably met someone, maybe it's even you, who eats healthy, avoids junk food, and walks every day, but can't lose an inch. Meanwhile, someone else drops 20 pounds seemingly overnight eating steak and butter. How is that possible? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The calorie theory doesn't work because it completely ignores biology. Weight gain is not a math problem. It's a hormonal problem. And the hormone at the center of it all is insulin, your body's fat storage switch. When insulin is high, your body stores fat. When insulin is low, your body burns fat. It's that simple. So if you've been eating less and moving more, but still gaining weight, it's not because you're lazy or lack willpower. It's because your diet is keeping your insulin high all day long, locking your body in fat storage mode. Now, here's the shocking part. There are 3 foods most people eat every single day. Foods that seem perfectly normal, even healthy, that silently spike insulin, block fat burning, and keep you trapped in the cycle of hunger, fatigue, and frustration. Remove these 3 foods, and your body will finally have permission to burn fat again. Naturally, rapidly, and without starvation. Let's uncover what they are, and why ditching them might be the single most powerful step you can take toward effortless weight loss. For decades, people have been told the same tired advice: eat less and move more. It sounds simple, right? But if it were true, the weight loss industry would have gone out of business long ago. People are hungrier, more frustrated, and heavier than ever before, despite eating salads, counting every calorie, and spending hours at the gym. Clearly, something is wrong with that equation. The problem isn't the lack of willpower or discipline. The problem is the entire model. The human body doesn't work like a simple math formula. You don't just put in fewer calories and magically shrink. You're not a furnace. You're a complex hormonal system constantly adjusting and responding to what you eat and when you eat. And at the center of that system is one hormone that determines whether your body burns fat or stores it: insulin. Think of insulin as a fat storage switch. When insulin is high, your body can't access its stored fat. When insulin is low, your body burns fat for energy. It's that simple. Every time you eat, insulin rises to help move glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. That's normal. The problem begins when you eat too often, every few hours, or eat foods that keep insulin high all day, like refined carbs, sugary snacks, and processed grains. This constant elevation turns that fat storage switch on all the time. Your body never gets the chance to burn fat because it's stuck in storage mode. Imagine insulin as the gatekeeper of your body's fat stores. When it's high, the gates are locked tight. You can't burn fat no matter how little you eat. When it's low, those gates open and your body naturally begins to tap into its fat reserves for energy. That's why people can eat less and still not lose fat, because their hormonal switch is flipped the wrong way. I've seen this play out with hundreds of patients. One woman in her 50s came to me after years of low-calorie diets. She was eating 200 calories a day, walking 5 miles every morning, and still couldn't lose weight. She was exhausted, hungry all the time, and frustrated. When we tested her insulin, it was sky high. Her body was in full fat storage mode. Once she changed what she ate, cutting out the foods that spiked insulin, the weight started to melt off. She wasn't starving anymore. She was finally letting her hormones work for her, not against her. The truth is, calories don't drive fat gain. hormones do. You can't outsmart biology with a calculator. When you lower insulin, your body naturally balances hunger, increases energy, and starts burning stored fat. You don't need to force it. You just need to stop triggering it. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you have a refrigerator and a deep freezer. The food in your fridge is easy to access. That's the sugar and carbs you eat. Your body uses it for immediate energy. The deep freezer is your body fat, stored energy for later use. When insulin is high, your body can't open that freezer. It keeps asking for more food because it can't reach the energy it already has. You feel tired, hungry, and sluggish. Lower the insulin, and suddenly that freezer unlocks. Your body starts using its stored fat for fuel. That's how real fat loss happens. Most people today live in a state of constant high insulin. Between breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, dinner, and a bedtime treat, insulin never gets a break. It's like constantly pressing the store fat button all day. Every day. Over time, your cells stop responding properly to insulin. That's insulin resistance, and it's the root cause of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and many metabolic diseases. So when someone says, "I'm eating less but not losing weight," it's not that their body has stopped working. It's that their insulin has taken control. Their metabolism is locked in storage mode. Fix that, and the entire system resets itself. Hunger goes down, energy goes up, and weight loss becomes effortless. When you finally understand that insulin, not calories, is the real driver of fat gain, everything changes. The question is no longer, how can I eat less? But how can I eat in a way that keeps my insulin low? Once you shift that mindset, weight loss stops being a daily battle and becomes the natural result of letting your body do what it was designed to do. Let's start with the foods that quietly sabotage almost every weight loss effort. Refined carbs and grains. Most people begin their day with them, completely unaware they're setting themselves up for fat storage before the morning even ends. Think about a typical breakfast: a bowl of cereal, maybe a couple of slices of toast, or a bagel with low fat cream cheese. It sounds healthy enough, right? After all, that's what we've been told for decades. Start your day with whole grains for energy. But what really happens inside your body after that meal is the opposite of what you want if your goal is to burn fat. The moment that cereal or toast hits your stomach, your body quickly breaks it down into glucose. Within minutes, your blood sugar spikes. And as soon as that happens, your pancreas rushes to release insulin to bring that sugar under control. Insulin's job is to move the sugar into your cells for energy or storage. The problem: most people don't need that much energy all at once, so the extra glucose gets stored as body fat. Now your insulin is elevated. Your fat burning switch is turned off, and your body shifts into storage mode. For the next few hours, your insulin stays high, which means your body can't access its stored fat for fuel. Once the sugar crash hits, you start feeling hungry again, even though you just ate. So you reach for a snack, maybe a granola bar, maybe another coffee with a bit of sugar. The process repeats. Each bite keeps your insulin high, and fat burning remains locked away. By lunchtime, you've already spent half the day storing fat instead of burning it. Refined carbs are like dry kindling in a fire. They burn fast and leave you needing more. They give you a quick burst of energy, but no staying power. Compare that to eating protein or healthy fats, which burn slowly and keep insulin stable. The real issue isn't just the sugar, it's how frequently we eat foods that act like sugar in the body. A slice of white bread may not taste sweet, but your body treats it almost exactly like candy. It's glucose once it's digested. Even whole grains, the ones plastered across cereal boxes and bread labels, aren't innocent. They may digest a little slower, but they still raise blood sugar and insulin, especially when eaten in large amounts or multiple times a day. The body doesn't care whether it came from a heart, healthy, cereal, or a white baguette. If it's glucose, insulin will rise. That's the reason many people who follow clean eating still can't lose fat. They're flooding their system with grains that keep insulin high all day long. One patient I worked with believed she was eating perfectly. Oatmeal for breakfast, whole wheat sandwiches for lunch, brown rice for dinner. She never touched sugar, never snacked on junk food, yet couldn't lose an ounce. Her fasting insulin was through the roof. Her body was stuck in storage mode 24/7 because she was unknowingly eating foods that kept her hormonal switch turned on. Once she replaced those grains with eggs, avocado, and vegetables, her blood sugar stabilized, hunger disappeared, and her weight finally started to move. This is the hidden trap of refined and processed carbohydrates. They make you dependent on constant eating. Your blood sugar rises, then crashes, then rises again. Each crash triggers hunger cravings and fatigue. It's not a lack of willpower, it's pure biology. The body is simply trying to recover from the roller coaster you've put it on. The only way off that ride is to stop feeding it the fuel that causes those spikes in the first place. If you eat cereal or toast in the morning, pasta or sandwiches at lunch, and rice or bread at dinner, your insulin never gets a break. It's like keeping your fat storage switch jammed in the on position all day long. The key to burning fat isn't eating less of these foods. It's removing them so your body can finally access the energy it's been storing for years. Once insulin drops, fat burning resumes naturally. Hunger calms down, energy returns, and the endless craving cycle breaks. Many people fear giving up these foods because they've been told they're essential for energy. But the truth is, your body has a far more powerful and steady fuel source waiting: your stored fat. When you stop feeding yourself refined carbs, your body relearns how to burn that fat for energy. You feel sharper, more energetic, and far less hungry. Removing refined carbs isn't about punishment or restriction. It's about freedom from the constant hunger and fatigue they cause. It's not deprivation, it's liberation. One of the biggest lies in modern nutrition is the idea that a little sugar is harmless. You hear it everywhere. Everything in moderation. But when it comes to sugar, moderation is a trap. Because sugar isn't just empty calories, it's a biochemical disruptor that throws your hormones, your liver, and your fat burning system completely out of balance. And the worst part is, it hides in almost everything you eat. Take a look at a typical day for most people. They might skip dessert because they're trying to eat better, but they'll grab a flavored coffee in the morning, maybe a low-fat yogurt or granola bar for a snack, a bottle of juice or an energy drink in the afternoon, and a little ketchup or sweet sauce with dinner. That's dozens of teaspoons of sugar before the day is over, often without realizing it. And every bit of it keeps insulin high, pushing the body further into fat storage mode. The biggest culprit isn't even solid food. It's liquid sugar. Sugary drinks are the fastest way to spike insulin because they hit your bloodstream instantly. There's no fiber, no digestion, nothing to slow it down. A single can of soda or glass of fruit juice can send your insulin skyrocketing, and once that happens, fat burning stops completely. Your body can't burn fat when insulin is high. It's like trying to drive with the brakes on. Here's where it gets worse. The type of sugar in these drinks, fructose, doesn't behave like regular glucose. Glucose can be used by almost every cell in the body for energy. Fructose, on the other hand, goes straight to the liver. The liver has to convert it into something usable, but when it's overloaded, as it usually is, it turns that excess fructose into fat. Over time, this process leads to fatty liver disease and insulin resistance, the two key factors that make it almost impossible to lose weight. One patient I remember vividly was a man in his late 40s. He didn't eat much junk food, but he drank a few cans of soda every day and added sugar to his coffee without thinking much about it. He couldn't understand why his belly kept growing, even though he'd cut down on meals. When he stopped all sugary drinks and switched to water and black coffee, his weight started dropping fast. Within 3 weeks, his energy improved, his cravings disappeared, and his waistline shrank. He didn't change his workouts or count calories. He simply stopped flooding his liver with fructose. It's not just soda and juice that do the damage. Many so-called health foods are loaded with sugar disguised under different names. Agave syrup, honey, cane juice, maltose, or fructose. Even products labeled low-fat or fit are often the worst offenders. When manufacturers remove fat, they add sugar to make up for the lost flavor. That healthy, low-fat yogurt in your fridge can have more sugar than a scoop of ice cream. Energy bars promoted as post-workout fuel often contain as much sugar as a candy bar. The labels make them look wholesome, but your body only sees one thing, an insulin spike. Another story comes to mind about a young woman who couldn't figure out why she was always tired and hungry despite eating what she thought was a clean diet. Her breakfast was a smoothie made from fruit juice, a banana, and some low-fat yogurt, all marketed as healthy choices. But that smoothie contained almost 60 grams of sugar, the same as a large soda. Her insulin stayed high all morning, and by lunch, she was starving again. When she replaced her smoothie with eggs and vegetables, her energy stabilized, and she stopped feeling like she was constantly chasing her next meal. Sugar tricks your brain and your body. It gives you quick pleasure, but leaves you hungrier than before. It causes your blood sugar to crash, forcing you to crave more. It's not about willpower, it's chemistry. Sugar stimulates the same reward centers in the brain as addictive drugs, and that's why quitting it feels hard at first. But once you do, the fog lifts, the cravings fade, and your metabolism starts to heal. Every spoonful of sugar you skip gives your body a chance to lower insulin, detoxify the liver, and access stored fat for energy. Cutting sugar isn't just about losing weight. It's about reversing the hormonal damage that caused the weight gain in the first place. When insulin drops, fat loss finally becomes effortless. That's why the moment people stop consuming processed sugar and sweetened drinks, their progress accelerates dramatically. What most think of as deprivation actually becomes the turning point where the body finally begins to heal. Most people think they're making a healthy choice when they use vegetable oils. They've been told for years that butter clogs arteries, that saturated fat is the enemy, and that healthy oils like canola, soybean, or corn oil are the smarter option. But the truth is, these so-called healthy oils are one of the most damaging ingredients in the modern diet. They're not natural fats. They're industrial products, heavily refined, chemically extracted, and highly unstable once they enter the body. Processed vegetable oils are made by pressing seeds that were never meant to produce oil in the first place. To extract it, manufacturers use high heat and chemical solvents like hexane. Then they bleach and deodorize it to make it look and smell edible. By the time it reaches your kitchen, it's no longer food. It's a processed chemical cocktail that your body struggles to recognize. And when you cook or fry with it, it becomes even worse, releasing harmful compounds called aldehydes and oxidized fats that directly damage your cells. Your body is made up of trillions of cells, and each one is surrounded by a thin membrane made mostly of fat. Think of that membrane as the walls of a house. It needs to be strong, flexible, and resilient. When you eat healthy fats, like butter, olive oil, or coconut oil, your body builds those walls with solid, stable materials. But when you fill your diet with vegetable oils, you're building those walls with weak, brittle bricks that crack under stress. That's what happens at the cellular level. The result is inflammation, poor communication between cells, and a sluggish metabolism. The damage doesn't stop there. These oils are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, which are highly inflammatory when consumed in large amounts. In small, natural quantities, omega-6 fats are fine, but modern diets have completely skewed the balance. Most people today eat 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3 fats, creating chronic inflammation throughout the body. That inflammation interferes with insulin signaling, making it harder for your cells to absorb nutrients properly. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, the very condition that keeps fat locked away. One of the key reasons processed oils are so destructive is oxidative stress. These unstable fats oxidize easily, especially when heated, forming free radicals, tiny reactive molecules that damage DNA, proteins, and cell structures. It's like rust forming inside your body. This oxidative damage slows down your metabolism, makes your body resistant to insulin, and promotes fat storage even if you're eating fewer calories. That's why someone can switch to light cooking oil and still gain weight, because they're feeding their body a toxic fat that disrupts normal functions. I've seen patients who thought they were eating clean because they avoided sugar and refined carbs, but continued to use vegetable oils daily. They couldn't understand why their energy was low or their progress stalled. Once they replaced these oils with real fats, olive oil for salads, butter for cooking, coconut oil for higher heat, their metabolism began to reset. Their inflammation markers dropped, their energy returned, and their cravings diminished. The body started working again the way it was designed to. The difference between real fats and industrial oils is night and day. Natural fats like butter or olive oil are stable and nourishing. They support hormones, fuel the brain, and protect the liver. Industrial oils, on the other hand, are unstable and inflammatory. They destroy cell integrity and confuse hormonal signals that regulate hunger and metabolism. When insulin receptors on your cells become damaged from inflammation, your body must produce more insulin to get the same job done. That's the beginning of insulin resistance. And the reason fat loss becomes nearly impossible no matter how disciplined you are with food. It's not about eating less fat, it's about eating the right fat. The fats we eat literally become part of us. They form our cells, our hormones, our brain tissue. When you fill your diet with cheap, processed oils, you're building your body with weak materials. But when you switch to traditional fats, the ones our grandparents used without fear, you restore balance, strength, and stability at the deepest level. That's when metabolism begins to heal and energy returns naturally. Replacing vegetable oils isn't just a dietary change. It's a metabolic reset that allows your body to finally operate the way it was meant to. When you stop eating refined carbs, sugars, and processed oils, something remarkable begins to happen inside your body. It's not instant, but within days, you can feel the shift. Your metabolism, which has been sluggish and resistant for years, finally starts to wake up. The fat burning machinery that was switched off by constant insulin spikes starts to turn back on. You begin to run on a different kind of fuel, your own stored fat, and everything about how you feel and function starts to change. In the beginning, your body is used to running on glucose. Every few hours, it demands another fix, a snack, a drink, a small bite to keep energy levels up. That's what happens when insulin stays high. It keeps you dependent on sugar as your main energy source. But when you remove those foods that constantly elevate insulin, your body slowly switches gears. Insulin levels start to fall, and for the first time in a long time, your fat stores become accessible again. Your body starts to use them for fuel instead of relying on the sugar roller coaster it's been riding for years. You notice the difference in small ways at first. The mid-morning hunger fades. The afternoon energy crash doesn't hit like it used to. You can go longer between meals without feeling weak or irritable. That's because insulin isn't forcing your body into constant storage mode anymore. When insulin drops, the gates to your fat reserves open. Your body starts pulling from that stored energy naturally, the way it's supposed to. Hunger becomes a quiet signal, not a desperate craving. You eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, without even trying. Before this change, your body was like a car running on cheap, unstable fuel. You had to keep refilling it just to keep moving. Your blood sugar spiked and crashed all day, and your energy followed that same pattern. After removing refined carbs and sugars, your body starts using stored fat as a steady, clean energy source. There are no sharp crashes, no cravings every few hours. Energy feels smoother, clearer, and more consistent throughout the day. It's like switching from a flickering candle to a steady flame. Processed vegetable oils add another layer to this transformation. When you remove them, your cells begin to heal. Their membranes become stronger and more flexible again, allowing nutrients and hormones to move in and out efficiently. That means your insulin receptors start working properly. The inflammation that once blocked communication between your hormones and your metabolism begins to calm down. As this happens, your cells become more sensitive to insulin again, meaning your body doesn't need to produce as much of it to get results. That's how the cycle reverses. Less insulin, less storage, more fat burning. I've seen people who felt trapped for years, always dieting, always tired, always gaining the weight back, suddenly find freedom when they remove these foods. They're shocked that they're not hungry all the time anymore. One man told me he couldn't believe he was eating 2 meals a day and feeling satisfied, something that had never happened before. That's what happens when your hormones rebalance. You're no longer fighting your biology, you're working with it. As insulin drops, another interesting change occurs. Your body stops clinging to water and salt. High insulin levels make your kidneys retain both, which is why so many people feel bloated and puffy when they eat processed carbs and sugars. When insulin falls, the excess water is released, and you notice you feel lighter, your stomach less swollen, your face less puffy. It's not just weight loss. It's your body shedding the inflammation it's been holding on to. This process isn't about restriction or eating less food. It's about eating smarter food, the kind that keeps insulin low and lets your metabolism run freely. You're no longer chasing numbers or starving yourself. You're giving your body what it actually needs, real food that fuels instead of traps it. Over time, you stop thinking about food all day because your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, start working properly again. They're no longer being hijacked by insulin and sugar. The difference between a body fueled by sugar and a body fueled by fat is like the difference between chaos and control. Before, you were dependent on snacks, caffeine, and willpower just to get through the day. After, your energy is self-sustaining. Your brain feels sharper, your focus steadier, your sleep deeper. Your body is no longer fighting to survive in a high insulin environment, it's thriving in a balanced one. What surprises most people is how effortless it starts to feel once the switch happens. They're not thinking about food constantly or fighting cravings anymore. They realize they were never broken. Their hormones were. And once insulin settles down, the body finally gets permission to do what it was designed to do all along: burn fat for fuel. Stay energized and maintain balance without struggle. Most people spend their lives chasing the wrong solution to the right problem. They count calories, track every bite, and live in a constant state of guilt, believing that discipline is the key to weight loss. But the truth is, it's not about discipline at all. It's about hormones, especially insulin. When insulin is high, fat burning shuts down. When insulin drops, your body naturally starts to use stored fat for energy. It's not a matter of willpower. It's biology. Once you understand that, everything about weight loss becomes simpler and more logical. Real weight loss isn't about eating less. It's about eating in a way that lets your hormones work properly. When you remove refined carbs, sugars, and vegetable oils, you're not depriving your body. You're freeing it. You're allowing your metabolism to function the way it was designed to. You're letting insulin return to normal levels so your body can finally burn the fat it's been storing for years. And the best part is, this isn't a temporary fix or another restrictive diet. It's a sustainable way of living that restores balance, energy, and health. I've seen countless people who were stuck for years finally make progress when they stopped fighting their hunger and started working with their hormones. They didn't have to starve themselves or spend hours in the gym. They just changed what they ate. Once insulin came down, the body did the rest on its own. Hunger subsided, cravings disappeared, and the fat that once clung stubbornly began to melt away. It wasn't about punishment. It was about permission. Permission for their bodies to finally function the way nature intended. If you spent years trying to lose weight without success, it's not because you're weak or broken. You've been following the wrong strategy, one that focuses on calories instead of hormones. You can't outsmart a hormonal system with math, but you can reset it by changing the inputs that control it. For just 2 weeks, remove refined carbs, processed sugars, and vegetable oils from your diet. Replace them with real whole foods, proteins, natural fats, and vegetables. Give your body that short break from insulin overload and watch how quickly it begins to respond. In those 2 weeks, you'll start to notice the small but powerful shifts. More energy in the morning, fewer cravings during the day, better focus, less bloating, and steady weight loss without effort. You'll realize that your body was never the enemy. It was always doing its best to protect you from the constant hormonal chaos caused by modern foods. Once you stop feeding that chaos, your system restores balance on its own. You don't need another diet plan. You don't need to punish yourself for eating. You just need to understand how your body works and give it the conditions it needs to thrive. When insulin is balanced, fat loss becomes natural, energy returns, hunger becomes normal again, not constant. You stop obsessing over food because your hormones finally fall into rhythm. That's what true metabolic health feels like: effortless balance, not endless struggle. This is what it means to take back control from the myths that have kept you stuck. You don't need to fear food or fight your body. You need to trust it. Once you do, you'll see that lasting weight loss has nothing to do with restriction and everything to do with restoring the natural wisdom your body already has. When insulin is calm, everything else falls into place.